Sometimes, all it takes is a couple of changes here and there for a player to finally break out the mold and achieve their true potential. Even the worst NFL teams in 2021 can find a silver lining in the form of one of their young players who broke out in a big way. So let's get right into it and check out every NFL team's top breakout performer of the 2021 season. Arizona Cardinals, Byron Murphy Jr. Following Patrick Peterson's departure, the Redbirds needed someone to step up and fill the top cornerback role. Murphy was up for it. The third-year corner had 4 interceptions, including 1 for a TD, and 12 passes defended. According to Pro Football Reference, Murphy yielded a passer rating below 80 in 6 games when he was targeted. Atlanta Falcons, A.J. Terrell. The second-year product was by far the NFL's top corner in 2021. According to Pro Football Focus, he only allowed 29 completions on 66 targets. Opposing quarterbacks had an awful 47.5 passer rating when targeting Terrell too. Oh, and he had 3 interceptions and 16 passes defended. Baltimore Ravens, Mark Andrews. He didn't have Lamar Jackson for 5 games, and yet all Andrews did was smash career highs in receptions with 107 and receiving yards with 1,361. Both, by the way, are Ravens single-season records too. Andrews, who also hauled in 9 touchdowns, went from a consensus top 5 tight end to arguably one of the best in the league. Buffalo Bills, Dawson Knox. Stephon Diggs remained Josh Allen's go-to guy in 2021, but Dawson Knox gave Buffalo another special weapon, especially in the red zone. Knox easily set career highs across the board, 49 catches for 587 yards and 9 touchdowns. As if defenses didn't already have a tough enough job defending against Allen, Diggs, and Cole Beasley heading into this year. Carolina Panthers, Yetur Gross-Matos. The Panthers got the expected production from most of their top players when healthy, namely Brian Burns, Jeremy Chin, and TJ Moore. Honestly, this team really didn't have any pleasant surprises in 2021. That said, second-year defensive end Yetur Gross-Matos showed some improvement with 3.5 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, and a forced fumble, despite seeing very limited action in 14 games. Don't be surprised if he gets close to Pro Bowl level in 2022. The Panthers just gotta use him accordingly. Chicago Bears, Darnell Mooney. Allen Robinson's down year allowed Mooney to step up as the Bears' new leading receiver. He was one of the very few bright spots on a miserable Chicago team, racking up 81 catches for 1,055 yards and 4 touchdowns. Mooney, David Montgomery, and Justin Fields should give Bears fans something to be excited about for next year. Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow. Burrow was straight up elite in his sophomore season, with a 70.4 completion percentage, 4,611 passing yards, and 34 touchdowns. Oh, and he led the Bengals to the AFC North title and their first playoff berth in 6 years. Just like that, the Bengals Super Bowl window has opened up for the next decade plus. Cleveland Browns, Denzel Ward. In what was a very disappointing year for Cleveland, they at least saw Denzel Ward bounce back in a big way. Ward earned his first Pro Bowl nod since his rookie season in 2018. He had 3 interceptions and 10 passes defended. Furthermore, opposing QBs had a 76.6 passer rating when they targeted him. It's good to see he wasn't a one-year wonder after a couple of down seasons in 2019 and 2020. Dallas Cowboys, Micah Parsons. Parsons should honestly garner some Defensive Player of the Year votes. That is how dominant he was as a rookie. Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, and new DC Dan Quinn turned the Cowboys defense from a laughingstock to a championship caliber unit in just 1 year. Parsons racked up 13 sacks, 6th most in the league, and had a trio of forced fumbles. He didn't allow a single TD while in coverage on 36 targets either, according to Pro Football Reference. Denver Broncos, Patrick Surtain II. Many Broncos fans wanted their team to take a QB with the number 9 selection, but there shouldn't be any complaining about the Patrick Surtain pick. Surtain played like a superstar in year 1, recording 4 picks and 14 passes defended. He yielded just a 51.0 completion percentage when targeted, and opposing QBs had a terrible 61.3 passer rating when they threw at the rookie sensation. Detroit Lions, Charles Harris. After a lackluster 3-year stint in Miami and an unproductive 1-year stint in Atlanta, the 2017 first-round pick finally broke out in 2021. Rookie head coach Dan Campbell found a way to maximize Harris's potential. He led the team with 7.5 sacks, also forcing 2 fumbles while putting up 16 quarterback hits and 19 hurries. The Lions have found themselves a gem in Harris, all right. Green Bay Packers, Rashawn Gary. Remember when Gary was labeled as a potential bust candidate back in 2019? Throw all those hot takes away. The guy has officially entered superstar status. Gary broke out in year 3 with 9.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. Oh, and PFF graded him at 89.3, which put him on the cusp of their elite grading scale. Houston Texans, Jonathan Grenard. Everyone knew it'd be a painful season in Houston, but who thought Grenard would emerge as a cornerstone on defense? As a sophomore, Grenard finished with 8 sacks and 4 passes defended, and PFF graded him at 82.9 on the year. Don't be surprised if he's a Pro Bowler soon. Indianapolis Colts, Jonathan Taylor. Not much really needs to be said. Taylor showed signs of stardom as a rookie, but he took it to an MVP level in year 2. Taylor ran away with the rushing title, recording 1,811 yards to go along with a league-leading 18 rushing scores. He finished with 2,171 yards from scrimmage and also a league-leading 20 total touchdowns. Not sure how the Colts missed the playoffs with that kind of production. Jacksonville Jaguars, Cam Robinson. Like the AFC South rival Texans, the Jaguars had little to enjoy in a nightmare 2021 season. The offensive line was a mess, and that led to a forgettable rookie year for Trevor Lawrence. That said, offensive tackle Cam Robinson was at least a mainstay on the O-line. He only allowed 1 sack on the year, per PFF, after allowing 13 total in each of the previous 2 years. Robinson took a giant step forward at the perfect time. In his contract year. Kansas City Chiefs, Mike Hughes. The Chiefs' remarkable turnaround following a sluggish 3-4 start was largely thanks to the efforts of former Vikings corner Mike Hughes, who didn't get much going in his 3 years in Minnie. Hughes had 6 passes defended and a whopping 4 forced fumbles. There were 5 games in which opposing QBs had a passer rating of 62.5 or lower when they targeted Hughes, and his 79.6 grade at PFF was far and away the highest of his career. Las Vegas Raiders, Hunter Renfrow. The Raiders don't make the playoffs without Renfrow. Not a chance. Josh Jacobs had a so-so year and Darren Waller missed 6 games. But Renfrow managed to step up time and time again when Vegas needed it most. He led the Raiders in catches with 103, receiving yards with 1,038, and receiving touchdowns with 9. Los Angeles Chargers, Austin Eckler. The do-it-all running back just had the best season of his career. Eckler continued to dominate as a pass catcher, catching 70 passes for 647 yards and 8 touchdowns. But it's on the ground where he really broke out, with 911 yards and 12 touchdowns. Both of those being career highs. Los Angeles Rams, Cooper Kupp. Yes, he was already a household name going into the season, but nobody had Kupp finishing as the Triple Crown winner. He led the league in catches with 145, receiving yards with 1,947, and receiving touchdowns with 16. Yes, he had that extra game, but Kupp still put up the 2nd most receiving yards and the 2nd most receptions in an NFL season ever. That's pretty impressive, considering the fact that many questioned whether he was even the best receiver on his own team entering 2021. Miami Dolphins, Christian Wilkins. Wilkins was a monster in Miami's front 7, which took a big leap forward in 2021. The number 13 pick of the 2021 draft had 4.5 sacks, 4 passes defended, and 13 quarterback hits. Wilkins posted an 83.3 PFF grade, and they named him to their 2nd All-Pro team. Minnesota Vikings, Cameron Dantzler. The Vikings defense was once again atrocious in 2021, and it led to another losing season as well as the firings of Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman. But don't fault 2nd-year corner Cameron Dantzler, who actually performed very well in an otherwise anemic secondary. Dantzler had 8 passes defended and yielded just a 53.4 completion percentage when targeted, and a passer rating of only 74.3. That's borderline elite. He should only get better in 2022. New England Patriots, J.C. Jackson. If not Terrell or Jalen Ramsey, Jackson may be the best cornerback in the NFL right now. In his contract year, Jackson racked up 8 picks, a year after posting 9, and a league-leading 23 passes defended. Throwing his way was almost always a dumb idea. He allowed a 49.1 completion percentage and a 48.6 passer rating when targeted. Someone is gonna get paid. New Orleans Saints, Marcus Davenport. Remember when the Saints were ripped when they reached for Davenport in 2018? Well, now we see why they made the move for him. Despite missing 6 games, Davenport racked up a career-high 9 sacks to go along with 16 QB hits, 3 forced fumbles, 9 tackles for a loss, and 6 hurries. Oh, and PFF graded him at 89.3. In other words, welcome to the NFL's elite pass rushers club, Marcus. New York Giants, Andrew Thomas. And Thomas had a frustrating rookie season for the G-Men in 2020, as he was responsible for 10 sacks according to PFF. Well, the Giants were awful once again in 2021, and their O-line was arguably the worst position group in the NFL this season. So it was easy to overlook Thomas's breakout season in year 2. He finished with a PFF grade of 78.4 and went from 10 sacks allowed to 2. That is massive progress, all right, and it's something that G-Men can build on. New York Jets, Braxton Berrios. Not much for the Jets to celebrate in year 1 of the Robert Saleh, Zach Wilson era, but third-year receiver Braxton Berrios showed some promise over the final month and a bit. Berrios, who worked beautifully as a gadget weapon, finished with 46 catches for 431 yards and 2 scores. Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts. Never mind the okay-looking passing stats. Hurts emerged as a dual-threat phenom for the Eagles in 2020, turning a 4-win team into a 9-win team that snatched the number 7 seed in the NFC. Nick Sirianni did a wonderful job building an offense around Hurts' two-way game. He finished with 784 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns, anchoring the NFL's number 1 ranked rushing offense. Hurts has some work to do as a passer, but he's looking like a more than capable long-term starter in Philly. Just another successful project to come out of the so-called quarterback factory. Pittsburgh Steelers, Deontay Johnson. A washed-up version of Ben Roethlisberger wasn't enough to prevent Johnson from having his best season yet. He took over as the new number 1 wideout in the Steel City, posting 107 catches for 1,161 yards and 8 touchdowns. Johnson, Chase Claypool, Pat Freiermuth, and Najee Harris give the Steelers offense a promising long-term outlook. If they can find the right successor to Big Ben, the sky will be the limit. San Francisco 49ers, Deebo Samuel. Do we have to say much else? Who honestly thought Samuel would finish 5th in receiving despite missing 1 game? This electrifying wideout caught 77 passes for 1,405 yards and 6 touchdowns. No player averaged more yards per catch than Samuel, who had a ridiculous 18.2 yards per reception. Oh, and he had 365 rushing yards and 8 rushing touchdowns. Since when are wide receivers supposed to finish in the top 10 in rushing scores? Seattle Seahawks, Rashad Penny. The number 27 pick of the 2018 draft finally came through in a make-or-break year. On paper, Penny's 749 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns don't look spectacular. Then you remember, he only played 10 games and would have easily hit 1,000 yards if Seattle used him a little more. Still, his 74.9 rushing yards per game were 7th most in the league during the regular season. More than Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, Josh Jacobs, and Austin Eckler, by the way. Penny closed out the season with 4 100-yard performances over the last 5 games. It took some time for him to break out, but hey, better late than never. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Donovan Smith. This was easily Smith's best season. The 83.3 grade at PFF was the highest of his career, as the veteran offensive tackle only yielded 1 sack. No team allowed fewer sacks than the Bucs, who surrendered just 23. The work of Smith was a major reason why. Tennessee Titans, Jeffrey Simmons. The Titans' front 7 was largely ineffective last season, but it emerged as one of the NFL's absolute best in 2021. It was largely thanks to third-year defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons. After meh rookie and sophomore years, he broke through with 8.5 sacks, 12 tackles for a loss, 16 QB hits, 10 hurries, and 6 pass defenses. And thanks to his efforts, the Titans finished as the AFC's top seed. Washington football team, Eric Flowers. Flowers never got it going with the Giants, who picked him 9th overall back in 2015. It just took a second stint with Washington, where he also played in 2019, for Flowers to finally live up to his potential. Flowers finished with a PFF grade of 72.0 on the year, the highest mark of his entire career. He and Brandon Scherff were mainstays on an O-line that was still among the NFL's worst. And to think how bad it would have been without Flowers and Scherff. But who do you think was the NFL's top breakout star of the 2021 season? Join us in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.